focus today on what's right with San Francisco. And it's a pretty remarkable thing considering how high our unemployment rate that I would say the following, that I'm proud to be mayor of San Francisco than any other mayor in the state of California. Our unemployment, when you do non-seasonally adjusted, is 3.1% lower than the state unemployment. It's the sixth lowest of any of the 58 counties. And when you're comparing us to Marin or Napa County, it's not necessarily a fair comparison, but any dense urban county, San Francisco has the lowest unemployment rate. This is a city with more public-private developments than any other city in the state of California. If you think I'm exaggerating, just consider the following. $4.6 billion is being invested to upgrade the regional water system, that 167-mile gravity-fed system of the Chechi. That work is underway, and there are 48,000 jobs attached to that project. That's happening. That's not something 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Those construction projects are happening all throughout the region. You heard, and it was noted, the work that finally is being done on Doyle Drive. This is the second most seismically unsafe thoroughfare in the United States of America. Think about that, but not for long the next time you're driving over it. It was constructed with the same design of the bridge that was constructed in Minneapolis that collapsed. That has a seismic rating, structural rating of 50. Ours has a structural rating in the teens, and that's after some of the retrofit that has been done. This project was dead on arrival. When I was with you last year, I was talking optimistically about it, but we were $400+ million short from making that project happen. And now it's under construction, it's on time, and it looks to be under budget and will be done in just a couple of years because we were able to patch together federal dollars, state dollars, and then yes, we had the benefit for those that are doubters and cynics and just believe everything you read or hear on Fox, that the stimulus program actually delivered the final funding for that. The Tiger grants, and then direct appropriations because of the leadership of Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and then the ability to get an additional $50 million of stimulus money to get us right over the edge so we felt confident that we could actually pay the bills and start that construction project. $1+ billion being invested, real jobs being created with a local job requirement and component that we think is an envy of any other Caltrans-sponsored project in the state of California. 167 parks and recreation facilities have been completely redone, and hundreds more are underway. If you don't believe that there's been a lot of progress, I'll challenge you to go down to Western Addition in San Francisco. Go, let's say, Geary and Divisadero. And I wish I could bring photographs the way it was just 5 years ago, Kimball Field, because of the Fisher family and their contribution. They stepped up. They weren't just complaining about the city. They put up $40 million to help us with that field campaign, and one of those fields is Kimball. You go across the street, Hamilton Pool, brand new playground. Right next to a brand new library as part of our branch library improvement program. Where over libraries are completely brand new, and the rest will be done in the next year, year and a half. And for those of you like me that think we could be more like Chicago in terms of beautifying our streets with great streets, when you go down Michigan Avenue, you go, why can't we do that? Well, go down to Divisadero now. Go up where Kaiser decided to step up when they were asked, and they stepped into this debate, and they redid their median right across the two Kaiser campuses on Geary, and see how they beautified and anchored those streets. To me, that matters. I go from the big projects to the small project, because at the end of the day, it's about quality of life. That's the differentiator. That's what keeps the economy going. That's what, as Joan said, keeps the residential market humming remarkably under extraordinarily difficult circumstance, neighborhood by neighborhood, block by block. This city is rebuilding in historic ways. Treasure Island, 8,000 housing units. We've been talking about this for 15, 20 years. There have been more press conferences on this, and I'm always mesmerized people write about them because there's really nothing to write about, except few people showed up and they talked about something that may or may not happen. That would have been the headline I would have written. Well, we actually had someone show up that you should have written about, and actually not many people did. Thank you, Mary. You were an exception. That's why I'm here. When we had the Secretary of the Navy out there
with Speaker Pelosi just a couple weeks ago. And let me make this point, and I should have started with this to be more eloquent. I got to tell you, it's been the most amazing 6 weeks I've ever had since I've been in local elected office. I mentioned Doyle Drive. That's one of them. We had our 5th press conference out there with Barbara Boxer. Everyone gets credit for that. But we had our first, since I've been mayor, out on Treasure Island with Speaker Pelosi and the Secretary of Navy, Ray Mabus. And we signed the first profit participation agreement in the history of the Navy. It's an actual public-private partnership, public-private. City and county, U.S. government through the Navy, and the private developer. A number of them are here today. You'll hear from them. 8,000 housing units, 32% of them below market, 300 acres of new parks and open space, 500 plus rooms, hotel, most sustainable, greenest development in the history of the United States. Dense urban development. We've been talking about it for 20 plus years. We now are delivering on it. We're just a few months away from finalizing the EIR, but the deal is signed, the deal is done. And trust me, this deal was dead a couple of years ago. Dead. It was going nowhere. And these guys were starting to panic for good reason. That thing is real. It's happening. Real construction jobs, 2,000+ each construction year. You can extrapolate that out over the course of a 10, 15-year construction phase. Billions and billions, estimated $5 to $6 billion of investment out there. That is a big deal to this city. Hunters Point, arguably even a bigger deal. 10,500 units. 700,000 square feet of new retail. 10,000, you did not know this. 10,000 seat performance venue. You did know this, 69,000 seat NFL stadium. For someone. Man. Rebuilding Alice Griffith Public Housing. Mary mentioned Hope SF. I'm so proud you put that in the structures. Rebuilding all the public housing, not waiting around for the federal government. The first ones at West Point, Middle Point, Hunters View, right on top of the hill. We're going to start in Sunnydale. We'll be in Potrero. We're going to be rebuilding all the remaining public housing sites to deal with the issue of concentrated poverty and get serious about it by doing mixed income housing, one-to-one replacement, no one's displaced, and right the wrongs of the past in terms of the work that was done to house our most vulnerable and those that are struggling through generational poverty. That's real. That's happening in this city. Again, large and small. Trans-Bay Terminal. You'll hear from Maria. Truly the grander Central Station on the West Coast. I don't even like comparing us to the Grand Central Station because this is a much more extraordinary vision. And I'm sure Maria will have slides and you will, every single one of you, will walk away going, wow. 11 transit agencies coming into one multimodal facility, 8 counties represented, the terminus for the high-speed rail. The fact that we got $400 million in stimulus money allowed us to move forward with construction on this site. This is real. We had Secretary Ray LaHood, who was out here with Speaker Pelosi. We're not talking about this, it's happening. The temporary facility is open. You know this because the only press we're getting is bad press because there's not enough benches. That's the kind of press I love. Because it means something has changed and something needed to change. Any of you that work or live around there understood it. There were 156 others that lived or worked down there that didn't have addresses. And by the way, all but 6 we got into housing or long-term shelter, and I'm proud of that in the work of my office. 12,000 people, we're about to announce, 12,000 human beings are off the street since I became mayor. 39% decline in the street population. I know what you say exactly what I say. It doesn't feel like it. But the last survey we did in January, 44% of people have been on the streets less than 90 days. Think about that stat. Think about what that means. 44% have been on the streets less than 90 days. That means as soon as we house someone else is arriving to a city that houses more than any other city in the United States of America. But real progress. 30 years like this, we're finally moving in this direction on the issue of homelessness. And we're not giving up, and I get it. Every single day, I get it. Every single day, I get it. I see the same people you do every single day. We're working to try to solve this problem. Again, large and small. All these things interdependent, all these things connected. 2,600 housing units, Maria will talk about, as part of that Trans-Bay terminal redesign. New tower, the largest west of the Mississippi, Pelly Clark Pelly, extraordinary design. 5.4-acre park with an amphitheater at the end, a living roof along the lines of what Renzo Piano did at the Academy of Science as part of that Trans-Bay project. That $400 million that guaranteed the northern terminus of the high-speed rail, do not underestimate the significance of that, because it allowed us to move forward with the other $1.2 billion investment to deconstruct the old facility and start rebuilding the first phase of the new facility so that we can actually complete that project in the next number of years. High-speed rail, still a long way away. Northern terminus safely now anchored here in San Francisco in the new downtown. Speaking of investments in infrastructure and transportation, the Central Subway, I don't know that many people realize this. We had a groundbreaking. The Central Subway has started. Some of you are employed because of this, or some of you have hired people and you're getting checks. $1.57 billion project. I mean, this is I don't think this, and I shouldn't say this. I'm trying to suck up in Orange County, Joan, not just up here in San Francisco, but this is their money. I don't think this, I know this. I mean, we have been more competitive than any other city in this state. We're about to do a full funding grant agreement to get close to $1 billion of federal money, of your money, back into your city to complete that project. Full funding grant agreement goes in front of the feds the end of this calendar year. In the first quarter of next year, we feel I feel 100% confident we'll get it. Save some disaster on November 3rd. All right, leave me with a little less confidence, but nonetheless have every confidence that we'll deliver on this. That project is already doing the utility relocations. Construction jobs are already being advanced. You could see the staging area as you're stuck in traffic on 3rd Street. Something else we're working on. Happening. Doyle Drive, Central Subway, Treasure Island, Bayview Hunters Point, rebuilding public housing, parks, streets, Leland Avenue, streets, Valencia, streets, in a few months, Cesar Chavez, great streets, and neighborhoods, not just Western Addition, but dare I say, and I'll close with just a few thoughts, Soma, Mid-Market, 6th Street, 5th Street, 7th Street. Here we go again, another mayor, over-promising, under-delivering. I agree with you. I don't know that I over-promised. I didn't promise anything down there. But I don't feel like I've delivered. And so a couple of months back, because we screwed up at the Board of Supervisors, you had one supervisor that killed that redevelopment plan. Thank God for term limits. I'm serious in this case. I'm opposed to them generally, but in this case, thank God. Just killed the whole thing. I mean, that's the the great warrior spirit, the asterisk next to your name. No one ever, they kind of remember you, but the power is not exercised proactively, but negatively. But we decided to dust off and not use that as an excuse, and we created this new Central Market Partnership. And it's not just a redevelopment agency, it's about 7 city agencies, public-private partnership. But here was the secret. We did some best practice analysis, traveled the country, Times Square, and realized the one catalyst to our effort that was missing was the most important catalyst, and that was arts. That arts will lead to that renaissance. Theater, dance, music. 75, I kid you not, I literally have a list, and God help you if I brought it. I'd read them. 75 arts organizations are committed to coming back in the Central Market area. What they need is for the Board of Supervisors today not to play politics with this and not screw it up. Because today, City Place, which is part of the anchor of the revitalization that was approved by my commission, thank you, Commissioner Antonini, who I see here, planning and redevelopment, and all the city agencies, only way it doesn't happen is if the Board of Supervisors decides to say again, no, and argue for an ideal that doesn't exist. We cannot afford that to happen. That's 250,000 square feet that connects right up from Nordstrom's, right in the western part of Soma, starts pulling in closer to 6th Street, where there'll be, by the way, a new substation for police officers right on 6th and Market. 28 officers are going to be housed now in a new substation. Decided to get serious about putting more beat officers out there. Dozens of arts organizations ready to announce in the next few months that they're coming into that area. I really honestly believe this. In the next year, year and a half, you're going to be driving with your family and you're going to say, boy, something is different down here. It's not just a few palm trees. It's not just a few new facades. It's not just trying to see new police officers out there. It's a little less crowded with folks panhandling or the challenges of poverty in terms of its manifestation out on the streets. But something else is happening, and it will be arts as the catalyst. The National Endowment of Arts just gave San Francisco one of the most competitive arts grants in the United States because of the vision. Now we've got to complete the vision and invest in it. City Place is critical to that vision being advanced. And I cannot impress upon you more the decision the Board of Supervisors will make today and how that will impact tomorrow and our efforts for years and years and years. Projects large and small. Let me end. You don't know this, and Mary's getting antsy. We balanced our budget without raising taxes. I don't think two people thought that was possible. We did it without laying off police officers. We did it without laying off firefighters. And you know what? Something you probably don't know either. There are no teachers that were laid off. They used a portion of our rainy day reserve. And because of good management, and I'll repeat that, good management over at the school district with an outstanding superintendent, they were able to stave those layoff notices and pull them back. Advanced universal health care, you may not love it, but 90% of San Franciscans that didn't have it now are enrolled. Universal preschool, the only county in California with universal preschool. You want to get serious about the dropout rate, truancy rates, get serious about the achievement gap for African Americans and Latinos. You've got to begin at the beginning. Early childhood education is key. We're doing it. And something I know none of you know, we announced in my budget, it got completely lost, a 5-year vision that will be complete this year, universal after school. Only county in California that does that. We did that in this budget. Our bond ratings were just reaffirmed, Moody's, Standard & Poor's, and Fitch. As almost every city in this state and country were substantially downgraded. You see what happened in Chicago. You see what's happened in LA. You see the contrast with firefighters laid off in San Jose, police officers in Oakland. No police officers again, and firefighters laid off here. We have 2-year budgets. We have a robust rainy day strategy, no longer a reserve, because we depleted the last 3 years, but it's in place when the economy starts coming around. We have, because of your vision and wisdom, pay as you go. We've done dramatic civil service reform. We have the lowest number of city employees since 1998. And you know what? City employees gave back $250 million of wage concessions in this environment. And for all the folks that love to blame every city employee for all our problems, that's not fair, because they stepped up. I don't know another city where public employees would step up like that. And I still did layoffs. And I still promoted some contracting out, which the Board of Supervisors rejected again, but I still thought it was the right thing to do, to save you money so I can invest that into homeless programs and I can invest it in preschool programs. But again, for whatever reason, they said no. But I was still allowed to do that without making a commitment in the deals with concessions to say I can't do that. My point is, we have enlightened labor leadership in this town, and I want you to know that when you go and you look at that pension reform, which is not pension reform, it's taking away health care from working families in this city. And it is not good public policy, because you have passed 2 pension reforms in the last few years because we did it the right way. The only county in California to deal with unfunded health care liability, police and fire, giving back now 9% because you supported 79% of you supported pension reform in June. But do not be fooled by this new pension reform. It's going to set us back. And I'm the pension guy. I'm the one that actually advanced these reforms with Supervisor Sean Ellsburn. But this one is not good reform. And I mean this sincerely. Our public employees stepped up. We have 5-year financial plans. We have fully funded our 10-year capital plans. More money will be invested into repaving streets this year than any other previous year. And God knows we need more money than we've ever spent. In this environment, to wit, my final point, do not support tax increases on the November ballot. There were 6 tax measures the Board of Supervisors wanted to advance this year. They only succeeded in getting 2 on, thank God, but I can't believe we even had a debate in this climate about tax increases. And they'll come back. I may not be back. But you need to step up and step in. This is not an undertaxed city. If we were, we can have a debate. But we're not. And to increase the hotel tax in this economic environment is suicide. You must defeat this 2% increase on the hotel tax. It's inexcusable that we're having this debate. You just had your property transfer tax doubled a couple years ago. I guess it wasn't good enough because they now want to increase it again. How does that help us in the commercial sector? I said we balance budgets without raising taxes, without borrowing. Our bond rating was affirmed, and we have more supportive housing than any time in history, and you heard the other things we did. How was that possible on a $522.2 million budget shortfall and only $1.2 billion discretionary budget? So when they say it can't be done next year, they're wrong when we project out our budget deficits. We could figure this out, but don't kill the economic engine of this city, tourism, and small businesses. We do not need to increase payroll taxes. We do not need to increase sales taxes. We do not need to increase hotel taxes in this city. We need to streamline our bureaucracy. We need to invest in cutting taxes like we did in biotech. Now we have 60 biotech companies. We had 1 5 years ago. Like we've done in green tech, we're the envy of the nation in green tech companies. Like we've done in terms of our efforts to go after digital media and digital arts companies, the gaming companies like Zynga and Foursquare, these tech crunch companies and Ustream, these remarkable new companies, Playdom, Playfish, these other gaming companies that are all moving to San Francisco. So I say that, and that's it for my board would call petulance. I would call it passion, because I feel very, very strongly, and this maybe I'll close not as I began saying I won't talk about the future in terms of the politics of this town, but it does play in. I'm a progressive when it comes to social issues, you all know this, but I'm a pro-job Democrat, and you cannot be pro-job and anti-business. And we need to invest in our business creators. And I hope you invest some time in this year's ballot and consider who the pro-job candidates are for supervisor. At peril, you wake up and things get worse quickly, and they could. This is not to scare you. We're moving in the right direction against long odds, but it easily can tip because ideology is too strong in this town. You have the Bay Weekly or the SF Guardian, Bruce Redmond, and these people that write these blogs or op-eds, and it's as if nothing else matters down at City Hall but what some one person sitting in their living room is saying or thinking. And you think I exaggerate? Trust me, I do not exaggerate. I've been doing this 15 years. I have seen it. Ideology doesn't know parties. I don't like it on the far right, and I'll tell you sometimes in this town, I don't like it on the far left. You are the only thing standing between a dramatic shift off course in this town for the next 10 years and keeping this pace of progressive politics, but with some fiscal discipline and a pro-job sensibility, which at our best is what San Francisco has always represented. Please take the time to learn about these district supervisor races. Please, please. Don't grab me 6 months from now saying, what just happened? The future is not in front of us, it's inside of you. You have to determine it. Get involved. Write a $50 check, a $100 check. Ask these folks to your office. Ask them the tough questions. But get involved. This is critical. I mean, if I have to come in front of this group to say City Place is a problem, there's nothing about City Place that's a real problem. That shouldn't even be an issue. It should be a uniting factor. It's suggestive of how close we are in this town. Please get involved. I say this, and these are my final words, as a guy with an 11-and-a-half-month-old baby who I think loves this city, though she doesn't speak yet. But she looks like she loves it because she lives near Golden Gate Park and she smiles near the playground. I say that as the ex-mayor of San Francisco. I know my place. We come and go. I say this as a fifth-generation San Franciscan. I say this as a guy who's created 1,000 jobs in and around this city. He cares deeply about this city. The best days are absolutely ahead of us. There is no doubt in my mind. I love our problems. I love our challenges. I really do. But our opportunities are limitless as long as we have stable leadership. Get involved in these district races, even in districts you do not reside in. Get involved. Can I make it any more clear? Now, enough of me, and now to the happy and optimistic future that is America's Cup. We have a video that I think will enliven your senses. It's not as good as Maria's, but will give you a real sense of optimism about our prospects to generate $1.4 billion in economic activity, 8,840 jobs. A decision will be made in the next 30 to 45 days. Larry Ellison will make it. We're competing against two federal governments. Government of Spain, if you have any influence, help. If you're from Italy, please do something to make things, well, Rome is competing against us and Italy is competing. So here we are, just this small little 47.5 square mile city competing against these two countries. But we're very close, and this is what we are fighting for.
Skippered by Jimmy Spittle for BMW Oracle Racing is leading. America's Cup 33 has been decided on the water. February 14, 2010, Valencia, Spain. The America's Cup is America's